Let's now take you to eThekwini, where residents across Verulam and Phoenix protested last month over ongoing water interruptions. Residents say they expect Ramaphosa to address the crisis that's been unfolding for years on end. Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan joins us for an update. Karinda, a very good morning to you. Residents are clearly frustrated and they're looking for some inspiration as the President delivers his State of the Nation address this evening.
Certainly frustration on the ground across eThekwini because of the ongoing water crisis. Many residents going for days on end without that precious resource. But residents are becoming more proactive, and like you mentioned, there have been protests recently, but residents like my guest now, Ravina Ramai, have been speaking out for years. Ravina, I spoke to you last year, and this water issue continues in Trenance Park. Tell me about the severity of the situation.
Okay, Karinda, currently in Trenance Park we have a few roads that haven't had water for almost 130 plus days. This means there's absolutely no water in the taps except for pressure. So our residents currently are angry, they're frustrated, they want tap water. They can't continue living off tankers which are not even coming regularly to the area. It's causing such a strain on our community, on our elderly, on our young who are not making it to school, the workers that have to stay at home because they don't have water. After Sunday's meeting with the Verulam Water Crisis Committee and the Minister of Water, we were made a promise, we were given a promise by the Minister that by the 15th of February, we should have water in our taps. And I think right now that's the hope that many residents are actually clinging on to.
How do you feel about that promise that this crisis could be resolved by next week?
Okay, as I said, we have to live by the hope. We're skeptical, but at the same time we're living on that hope that, come 15th, whether it's the afternoon or the morning, that, when we open our taps, we're going to have, water, and we're going to say, thank you, Minister, for keeping to your promise.
On that note, the President is going to speak to the nation tonight, but what are you looking for? And in your view, what is your view of the state of our nation?
Okay, here I'd like to address the President directly. Mr. President, as one of the affected residents with no water, my appeal to you, and I think from every other resident, is please, we need water in our taps. We really, really need it. And as the leader of our nation, we are appealing to you to make this, a priority. And at the same time, the electricity outages need to be sorted out, because we have noticed that the electricity outages is causing a major strain on the water supply. So if these two things can get sorted out as a priority, I'm sure a lot of the citizens of South Africa will actually be, ever so thankful.
Ravina, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. I appreciate it. Ravina Ramai, she is one of the proactive citizens countrywide who have decided to take a stand, be part of the community organizations that are trying to meet with local government and make changes in their community. This community, specifically the water challenge. And you hear a plea to the President by a resident, by a citizen, saying, please resolve this water crisis. It's a basic resource. Residents are struggling across eThekwini. A promise has been made by the Minister of Water and Sanitation to resolve the issues by next week, by the 15th of February. But of course, this issue has been years in the making. So the residents are dwelling on that hope. There is some skepticism, but let's see what happens next week. And more especially, let's see what we can hear tonight about this water crisis in Durban.
Karinda, with residents really dwelling on that hope, how much of an impact has this water issue had on their day-to-day lives as they look to this promise that has been made?
Certainly, across eThekwini, whether you go to the suburban areas or rural areas, you will see the very same picture of many houses having buckets outside in front of their gates, because on a weekly basis they're waiting for water tankers to come so they can collect water. The issue of water tankers is also a major one. Ravina's just telling me now that right now for the past 2 weeks or so, they've only had one water tanker for this very, very big community. And so you can imagine that after going through just a handful of roads, the water water tanker has to go back to refill, and so residents are left just wanting for that precious resource. A similar issue in rural areas where the roads are not constructed in a manner that can see a water tanker drive through that community. So elderly residents who are living there have to lift up that big bucket of water and walk back home, and that water they've got to maybe boil and use for a week. And that is the living situation every day for many residents across eThekwini. We've been reporting on this for years now, especially over the past year, as we see the infrastructure essentially degrading right before the residents' eyes. So various promises have been made. We just saw that happen last week, but also the protests are becoming larger now as more residents are extremely furious. On the WhatsApp groups, there are messages saying, I don't have water, when it will come back, when will it come back? And you see that on many suburbs across eThekwini. It certainly is a crisis, and so that is why we'll also be continuing our crossing, speaking to other residents across the city about how they are dealing with this issue and what their message is to the president. They're looking for an answer to a very basic resource. They need water.
Very well, Karinda, Jagmohan, we leave it there for now as we continue throughout the course of the day to get some reactions and really expectations ahead of the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa at 7 o'clock this evening.